Welcome to my channel Echoes of Coin. The 1988 1-cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln cent, occupies a unique and fascinating place in the history of American numismatics. To understand its importance, one must begin by recognizing the legacy of the Lincoln cent series itself, which started in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1988, nearly 8 decades of history had passed, and the coin had already established itself as one of the most iconic and widely recognized pieces of American currency. Collectors, historians, and everyday Americans encountered the 1988 cent not only as a circulating coin, but also as a small but meaningful piece of national heritage. Its design, composition, minting process, and varieties reveal a rich story that connects economics, artistry, technology, and culture. The obverse of the 1988 cent features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. This portrait had been introduced in 1909 and remained unchanged in its essence, symbolizing Lincoln's enduring legacy as one of America's greatest presidents. By 1988, the Lincoln portrait had already been seen by generations, and the image of Lincoln on the penny had become a part of everyday life, often serving as the first coin children recognized and handled. The inscriptions on the obverse include "In God We Trust" along the top rim, "Liberty" to the left of Lincoln, and the year 1988 to the right, accompanied by a mint mark if struck in Denver, D, or San Francisco, S. Philadelphia minted cents carried no mint mark, continuing the tradition of omission. The reverse of the coin in 1988 still displayed the Lincoln Memorial design, which had been introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Designed by Frank Gasparro, the reverse shows the neoclassical structure of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with remarkable detail. One of the charming aspects of this design is that, if examined closely under magnification, one can see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, making this one of the few U.S. coins where both the portrait and a full-figure representation of the same person appear. Above the memorial are the words United States of America, while directly below them is the national motto, E pluribus unum. At the bottom of the reverse is the denomination, written as 1 cent, a detail that makes it unmistakable even for those unfamiliar with coins. The composition of the 1988 cent is also crucial to its story. In 1982, the U.S. Mint transitioned from the traditional 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc alloy to a primarily zinc core with a thin copper plating. This change was driven by rising copper prices, which had made it increasingly expensive to continue producing cents with a mostly copper composition. By 1988, all circulating cents were struck on planchets composed of 97.5% zinc with 2.5% copper plating. This copper-plated zinc construction gives the coins a lighter weight of 2.5 grams compared to the earlier bronze cents, which weighed 3.11 grams. The diameter remained at 19 millimeters with a plain edge. The switch in metal composition marked a significant turning point for the cent, as it not only altered the intrinsic value of the coin but also led to certain striking characteristics and potential issues like plating bubbles or surface imperfections, which can interest collectors. Mintage figures for the 1988 cent reveal the immense scale of production, reflecting both the coin's role in daily commerce and the mint's capacity. At the Philadelphia Mint, over 6.1 billion coins were struck without a mint mark. The Denver Mint produced more than 5.2 billion coins with the D mint mark, while the San Francisco Mint struck proof coins, numbering around 3.2 million, intended primarily for collectors. These enormous numbers mean that the 1988 cent is not rare in general circulation, but the proof issues, as well as certain varieties and mint errors, can attract significant attention and value among numismatists. One of the most notable aspects of the 1988 cent is the existence of a well-known variety often referred to as the 1988 double die, or transitional reverse. This variety involves a reverse design that appears to match the one used in 1989 rather than the intended 1988 reverse. The key diagnostic feature is the shape of the initials FG on the reverse, representing the designer Frank Gasparro. On the standard 1988 cent reverse, the initials have a distinct appearance, with the G having a certain serif style. On the transitional reverse, however, the initials align with the new reverse hub introduced in 1989, showing subtle but identifiable differences. Collectors who identify this variety recognize it as a transitional error coin, created when a 1989 reverse die was mistakenly paired with a 1988 obverse. Because of its rarity, the 1988 transitional reverse cent commands premium prices in the collector market, particularly in higher grades. Beyond varieties, errors also make the 1988 cent intriguing. As with other coins, misstrikes such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, cuds, and broad strikes are occasionally encountered. Some cents display noticeable plating blisters, the result of the copper layer separating slightly from the zinc core, an issue more common in the copper-plated zinc era than in the earlier bronze issues. Collectors who focus on error coins often seek out such examples, turning otherwise ordinary pennies into conversation pieces of numismatic curiosity. The condition and grading of 1988 cents also play a significant role in their desirability. In circulated grades, the coins are extremely common and generally only worth face value. However, uncirculated examples, especially those preserved in mint state with little to no marks, can be more appealing. The most desirable coins are those graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC at the higher levels of mint state, MS65 and above, or proof coins designated as Deep Cameo, DCAM. Even though the majority of 1988 cents remain common, the top-graded coins or rare varieties can command prices well above face value, making them sought after by dedicated collectors. The 1988 cent also serves as a reflection of American culture and economy at the time. The late 1980s was a period of economic growth and transition in the United States, marked by technological innovation, shifting industries, and global influence. While the cent remained an essential coin for everyday transactions, inflation had already eroded much of its purchasing power. What once bought a meaningful amount of goods was, by 1988, largely relegated to being part of small change or used in combination with larger denominations. Nevertheless, the sentimental attachment to the penny and its role as an enduring national symbol ensured its continued production. From a collector's standpoint, the 1988 cent is sometimes overshadowed by earlier key dates in the Lincoln series, such as the 1909 SVDB or the 1914 D. However, its importance lies in its role within the modern zinc-based era of the cent and in the intrigue of its varieties. For those who assemble complete date and mint sets of Lincoln cents, the 1988 issue is indispensable. For error and variety specialists, the transitional reverse is a highlight worth pursuing. For new collectors, the 1988 cent often represents one of the first coins they encounter and study, given its abundance in circulation even decades later. The production technology behind the 1988 cent demonstrates the U.S. Mint's ongoing adaptation to modern demands. By this time, the Mint had refined its processes for mass production of billions of coins annually, incorporating advances in die preparation, planchet manufacturing, and quality control. Yet, despite these technological advancements, human oversight and machinery limitations still allowed for mistakes that produced collectible varieties and errors. These imperfections became treasures for collectors who searched through rolls, bags, or even pocket change with the hope of finding something unusual. The symbolism embedded in the design of the 1988 cent deserves careful consideration. Victor David Brenner's obverse portrait of Lincoln was more than a simple artistic rendering. It was a national tribute to a president whose leadership preserved the Union during its greatest crisis. The choice to feature Lincoln on the smallest denomination was deliberate in 1909, sending a powerful message that even the most common coin could carry the image of greatness. By 1988, the longevity of Brenner's design had cemented its place in American culture. The sharp profile of Lincoln, with its thoughtful gaze and rugged realism, contrasted with the more idealized depictions of historical figures on other U.S. coins. Lincoln's image on the cent symbolized humility, resilience, and the democratic values that define the nation. Even as artistic styles changed over the decades, the portrait remained untouched, testifying to the timeless relevance of Lincoln's legacy. On the reverse, Frank Gasparro's Lincoln Memorial design served a similar symbolic role. The memorial, constructed in 1922 in Washington, D.C., was itself a national shrine honoring Lincoln's leadership and principles. By placing the structure on the reverse of the cent, the mint reinforced the continuity of Lincoln's image across generations. For nearly 5 decades, from 1959 through 2008, the Lincoln Memorial reverse appeared on billions of coins, making it one of the most recognized coin reverses in U.S. history. By 1988, Americans had grown accustomed to seeing it daily in their pocket change, often without pausing to notice the fine details. Yet under magnification, the intricate columns, steps, and central statue offered a reminder of the artistry involved in creating coins that are at once mass-produced and miniature works of art. Examining the mintage figures more closely reveals insights into the distribution and relative rarity of 1988 cents from different facilities. The Philadelphia Mint, lacking a mint mark, produced over 6 billion coins, ensuring their wide availability across the eastern United States and beyond. The Denver Mint, with a D mint mark, struck more than 5 billion pieces, serving much of the western half of the country. These massive mintages made the 1988 cent one of the most common issues in the entire Lincoln cent series. In contrast, the San Francisco Mint's proof issues were struck in far smaller quantities, around 3.2 million, yet these were not meant for circulation. Proof coins are produced using specially polished dies and planchets, resulting in mirror-like fields and frosted devices. The San Francisco proofs from 1988 are highly sought by collectors who value the artistry and technical perfection of proof coinage. The transitional reverse variety of 1988 deserves a detailed explanation, as it has become one of the most famous modern cent varieties. The story begins in 1989, when the U.S. Mint modified the reverse hub of the Lincoln Memorial design. The changes were subtle, but they affected the appearance of Frank Gasparro's initials FG, which appear to the right of the memorial. On the earlier version, used through 1988, the G has a distinct serif at its upper right, giving it a squared appearance. On the revised version introduced in 1989, the G appears smoother and more curved, lacking the serif. When a die intended for 1989 was accidentally paired with a 1988 obverse, the result was the 1988 transitional reverse cent. This mistake created a variety that collectors can identify by comparing the shape of the FG initials. The variety exists for both the Philadelphia and Denver issues, though both remain relatively scarce compared to the massive overall mintages. As a transitional error, it represents a moment where the mint's technological and procedural systems overlapped, producing a coin that was never officially intended. For collectors, the thrill of discovering a 1988 transitional reverse cent often comes from roll searching or examining change with careful attention to detail. While most 1988 cents are worth only their face value, those with the transitional reverse can sell for significant sums depending on condition. In higher mint state grades, they can command hundreds of dollars, making them a prized find. The existence of such varieties underscores the importance of collector vigilance, reminding hobbyists that treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places. Other varieties and errors from 1988 include double dies, repunched mint marks, and die clashes. Double die obverse or reverses occur when a die receives a misaligned impression during the hubbing process, leading to visible doubling on the coin. While dramatic double dies like the famous 1955 cent are rare, minor examples exist in later years, including 1988, and are pursued by specialists. Repunched mint marks, or RPMs, are possible in Denver issues, where the D mint mark might show evidence of having been punched more than once in slightly different positions. Die clashes occur when dies strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring part of the design from one die onto the other. When coins are struck with clashed dies, faint outlines of design elements can appear in unusual locations, creating fascinating collectible anomalies. The plating blisters that often appear on copper-plated zinc cents deserve separate mention. These small bubbles form when gas becomes trapped between the zinc core and copper plating during production. While generally considered defects, they have become associated with the zinc cent era, making them diagnostic of the post-1982 coinage. For some collectors, these blisters are undesirable, reducing the coin's grade and appeal. For others, particularly error enthusiasts, they are interesting reminders of the challenges involved in manufacturing billions of copper-plated zinc planchets with consistent quality. The 1988 cent, being firmly within the zinc era, is no stranger to such surface features. From a market perspective, 1988 cents in circulated condition hold little monetary value beyond face value, given their massive mintages. However, condition rarity plays a significant role in determining market demand. Collectors often seek examples graded MS67 or higher, where the coin's surfaces remain pristine with minimal contact marks. Achieving such grades is difficult, as coins struck for circulation were mass-produced with little emphasis on preserving quality. The highest graded pieces are often preserved from original mint sets or rolls, where they avoided the wear and tear of circulation. Proof issues graded PR70 Deep Cameo, displaying perfect surfaces and strong contrast between frosted devices and mirror fields, represent the pinnacle for 1988 proof cents. Such coins can fetch strong prices at auction, reflecting the collector demand for perfection. The broader cultural role of the cent in 1988 also deserves reflection. Despite its diminished purchasing power, the cent remained a ubiquitous presence in daily life. Americans encountered it in vending machines at grocery stores and in countless small transactions. Its role extended beyond commerce into traditions like children's allowances, school lessons about money, and the classic superstition of finding a penny for good luck. The mottos inscribed on the coin, "In God We Trust" and "E Pluribus Unum," continued to serve as reminders of national identity and shared values. For many Americans, the penny was more than just a coin. It was a symbol of continuity across generations, linking grandparents, parents, and children through the simple act of handling small change. The 1988 cent also reflects the mint's ongoing challenge of balancing tradition with practicality. Calls to eliminate the cent had already begun to surface by the late 1980s, as critics argued that the cost of production exceeded the coin's face value. Proponents of elimination pointed to inflation, which had eroded the cent's usefulness in daily transactions. Yet defenders of the penny emphasized its symbolic importance, its role in pricing strategies, and its cultural familiarity. The debate over the future of the cent would intensify in the decades to come, but in 1988, the coin continued to roll off the presses in the billions, underscoring its entrenched place in American life. For collectors today, the 1988 cent offers multiple avenues of interest. Beginners often encounter it in pocket change, sparking curiosity about coin collecting as a hobby. Roll hunters seek out the transitional reverse and other varieties. Error specialists focus on plating blisters, die cracks, or misstrikes. High-grade collectors pursue top-pop examples certified by grading services. And historians view the coin as a product of its era, reflecting the technological, economic, and cultural conditions of late 20th century America. Each perspective adds depth to the appreciation of what might otherwise seem like an ordinary coin. The production process behind the 1988 cent also illustrates the complexity of modern minting. The U.S. Mint sourced zinc planchets coated with copper through a combination of in-house operations and private contractors. The plating process required precision to ensure consistent thickness and adhesion. Dies were engraved with Brenner's obverse and Gasparro's reverse, hardened, and installed into high-speed presses capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute. Quality control procedures sought to catch defective planchets or mistruck coins, though some inevitably escaped into circulation. The sheer scale of production, billions of pieces, meant that even a small error rate could yield thousands of collectible mistakes. This interplay between industrial mass production and collectible uniqueness defines much of the appeal of modern coin collecting.